Today, I'm going to talk about my marriage story full of laughter and anger. So please listen to me. My name is Ella. I am 27 years old. I work in the fashion industry. I met my boyfriend James, who is 5 older than me, at a local marriage party. Why did I go to this party? My friend had just broken up with her boyfriend. She asked me to come with her. I didn't care if I got married or not. So I thought I'd just drink and eat home. But then James approached me. He contacted me as soon as we were on social media. When I met him, he praised me highly. I was comfortable with him. I used to date cool guys. So his direct reaction was something like, Meg, and we ended up going out. Well, in short, I was flattered by. We both lived alone. Soon, we were going back and forth to each other's houses. The more time we spent together, the closer we got. And he began to show himself, little by little, as his true self. But at that time, I didn't notice anything strange about his behavior or what he said. The one thing that sticks out in when he was taking a bath, there was incoming call on his phone. The screen lit up, and when I saw the word Kansas, he came back from his bath.
I asked him, "Who is Kansas?" He said, "A state of mind."
Oh, my boss. I've recently been transferred, so forgotten who she is.
He answered with some impatience.
She has an unusual name, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's something like, some name.
I wondered what he was up to, but I didn't pursue it any further. I didn't know that this was a harbinger of terrible things to come. Looking back, other strange things too. The day after he stayed at my place, borrowed his car to go grocery shop. His car was easier to maneuver in the supermarket, so we used to use his. After breakfast, he went back to bed for a nap because he had worked overtime the day before. I decided to go alone. I got into his car and operated the navigation system to check traffic. It showed a history of directions from an unknown location. He said he worked late at the office straight to my house. It is almost a straight road from high to my house. The place where he left, according to navigation, was the opposite direction of his office. But I was carefree. I thought he was checking out the P. He was going to go for business. I took it as a good thing. But there was also a hidden reason this incident. We continued our relationship, and he proposed to me. I had no reason to refuse. I was in love with him at the time, accepted his proposal, and we were planning to get married. On our anniversary, 1 year after dating, we booked the wedding venue, proceeded with all the arrangement. It wasn't a fancy ceremony, but it was special. The first time I tried on a wedding was so happy and excited. The guests were only my closest friends and family. My parents, my sister, and a few relatives. James' parents had passed away, so uncles and cousins were going to. Preparations were progressing steadily. All we had to do was to wait for the ceremony. But a week before the wedding, he started saying some strange thing.
I'm feeling kind of sick. What if I collapse on the wedding day? The weather forecast is for rain of the wedding. Do you think it's safe to hold the...
What was he talking about? What the hell is he thinking? If you're not feeling well, take care of yourself. The chapel and the ceremony are both. Rain doesn't matter, right? If you think about the road trip for attendees, I'd rather have sunshine than rain, of course, but that's not what he's worried about. I let his comments slide. I quietly proceeded with the preparations for the ceremony. And finally, on the day of the wedding itself, the actual weather had betrayed the forecast. We were blessed with clear skies. All the attendees arrived safely. It was a small ceremony with only a people invited, but I was very happy. It was a nice ceremony and reception. The incident happened at the after party. The after party was attended by my friends from school and colleagues from my job, even friends from social media. I got closer by talking about fashion. I had a lot of people there. In contrast, his friends were less of mine, but he's not from around here. He got transferred by his company. So I thought it was only natural. He took the microphone to greet the crowd at the after party. He took a deep breath and said, "Sorry. I'm sorry."
I have a wife and a child. That's why I can't marry you, Ella.
The room was quiet for a moment, but crowds started to shout in anger. But he told me in no uncertain terms.
Please forget about this marriage happened. And I leaven pay for the wedding.
He said it just like that. He ran out of the restaurant where an after party was held and never came back. I was surrounded by my friends. They comforted me. They expressed their anger. Some of them even cried for me.
Thank you. But don't cry for me. I've asked the restaurant to prepare something delicious for you. Now we should drink and have fun. Let's laugh a lot together.
I opened a bottle of champagne with my friends, and we drank a lot of it. While my friends and I were screaming in desperation, his friends had all disappeared. The groom said it all so well. They couldn't stay here, right? I was convinced like that. But later, it turned out that this only reason they left. After the after party, where we laughed and made a lot of noise, I took a cab home. Fortunately, we decided to move into house after the wedding, so I could go back to the house I had living in. We have already signed the contract new house we were supposed to live together, but I need to cancel it. He said we'd do the registry of our after the wedding. Maybe it was because he already has. I have to return the congratulatory soon as possible. Who did I leave it with? I had to get in touch with him, so phone. On the screen, we both have big smiles on our faces. I remembered that I had set my wallpaper to a photo of him and me. After unlocking the screen, I see a photo of us on our vacation at a beach. I was so happy at that time. As soon as I thought like that, tears filled my eyes, and I was finally able to cry all alone, wanting and crying like a child. My head ached from crying so much, began to feel heavy with swollen eye.
Don't think I'm going to let you get away with this. I will never forgive you.
I mumbled in a low voice with full. After that, my memory was cut off. I must have fallen asleep, as if someone turned my battery off. When I woke up, my head was clear, but everything else was a blur. But I thought it was only natural. I didn't touch my phone for a while. There were thousands of messages and calls. I first called my parents, who were over for the wedding. My parents were informed about the groom's bombshell via a friend who attended the after party, and they were extremely worried about me. Anyway, I want to reassure everyone yesterday. So, to those who came to the ceremony after party yesterday, I send a message of thanks.
I'm okay despite everything that has happened. I have calmed down. I will let you know if there is any information.
After that, I asked my closest friar to my house. My best friend knows my personality well. I wanted to talk to her about what going to do. Of course, I'm not going to let that go without a fight. I just want to ask her for advice on how to handle him more than he has already done to me. James' phone was, as expected, disconnected. He must have blocked me or changed his number. First, I had to find out what was true, that he had a wife and a child. I asked my friends who attended the after party.
I would like to hire a detective to the groom's background. Does anyone have any experience with kind of thing?
I sent this kind of message. Then I got a reply from a colleague workplace. She got a connection to a detective because her friend used it when she divorced. I immediately contacted that detective agency and asked them to investigate. It took them less than a week to fire James. As a result, he does have a wife and child. Furthermore, he told me his parents dead. So that's why he called his close-re to attend the wedding. But actually, parents are still alive. They live in the near town where his lives. I also found out that he came to my temporary post away from his family, and that he went back to the house where his wife was waiting for him. With all this information, I started move. 3 days later, I got a paid day. First, I went to James' parents' house. They seemed a bit anxious because woman, a stranger, came out of the visit. I got down on my knees in front of his parents, who were wary of my presence.
Please, I beg you. I want to marry James, no matter what.
His parents panicked and asked what had happened. I showed them the wedding photos and explained briefly what had happened. They wanted to hear the full story, so they let me in the house and I told them everything. I told them that I had met him at an activity party and almost got married. How he dropped a bombshell at the of the wedding and ran away. As I was telling the story, I felt tragic heroin. I was surprised that I even cried, but I used my tears for my acting as woman.
After he disappeared at the after party, I couldn't get in touch with him. Somehow, I only found out where he lived, so I just had to barge in like a little ass. Where is he? Can I marry him?
And then his parents looked at each, said,
I am sorry, but James indeed has a V child. I didn't hear about their divorce, so I don't think he can marry you.
I exaggeratedly broke down in tears. After that, I said,
I understand. I apologize for my behavior. I gave up the marriage with James.
I pretended to back out and left his house. I left the wedding photo at his parents' house on purpose. I intentionally left it. I wanted his parents to see the evil that James had done. When I left their house, the next step was to call his wife. After greeting her politely, I explained.
I'm a woman who lives in the neighborhood where James lives now. James and I went out, and we even made a promise to marry. Even though I didn't know he was married, I'm sorry for what I did to your wife. I revealed everything at once.
Now, what is her reaction? Would she think it's a prank call, or would she panic and get angry? His wife's response was neither of. She took a deep breath.
If that is true, what you are saying, I would like to meet you and talk with face to face.
She said that in a clear tone of voix. I met her at a cafe a few hours later. His wife was calm and seemed intelligent. We talked for a few hours, but she was never distressed during that time. We exchanged our contact information for future reference and parted ways. About a month later, she contacted me. I got ready with my parents and said goodbye to them. I went to the parents' house of James, which was just a few minutes away from the house where James and his family lived. The people who gathered there were my parents, Jay's parents, and me. Their child stayed at home and was us. We were taken to the guest room and everyone took their seats. The discussion began. A gong rings in my brain to announce the start of the fight. Now, let the battle begin. James opened his mouth first after poked by his father.
I'm sorry that you all gathered I apologize. Ella, I'm sorry I couldn't marry you. But I'm not lying about how much I love Ella, who is beautiful, and he...
Then what am I?
His wife asks coldly.
I love you, Kansas, too. You take Ka like a mother. You work as a caregiver Why good at taking care of me?
While he was talking to his wife, I reminded of a phone call I saw when dating. He took advantage of my misunderstanding, just like he lied to me that it was his boss's name. But actually, it was his wife's first. It was a conversation full of lies. That's so ridiculous.
James, let me ask you something. You say you love us both, me and you, Kansas. But what if you had to choose between a job that paid well, but was boring, or one that was more interesting but paid less?
I can't do that. That's why we're in this mess. It's called bigamy, right? I didn't realize that marrying two would be a crime. I wanted to call off the wedding, but I didn't have the courage. I just got scared and ran away.
You say you didn't realize it. No one would agree to that.
That's enough. I can't stand to see you like this. Take responsibility for what you did.
He slammed his fist on the table and at him. It was his father.
But how do I take responsibility?
He blurted out pathetically. I stepped forward. I was waiting for moment.
Pay me what you owe me first, the wedding and after-party expenses, instead of pretending the marriage happened. You said you'd pay for it, and alimony for the emotional and damage caused by you. I think it'll be at least $3 million.
What?
Next, it is Kansas' turn.
I want a divorce. Of course, since it's your fault, I expect you to pay alimony and child support. I will never give up custody.
I don't want that kind of divorce. Besides, if something happens to Mai, who's going to take care of them? Huh?
Kansas and I had the same reaction, but this is a matter of a married seat. It's something that should be said, parties involved. I gestured for Kansas to go ahead or back.
James, if anything happens to you take care of them. I'm a caregiver, but I didn't get the qualification care of your parents. Even if you say you don't want a divorce, I have proof that you cheated on me. I will definitely ask you to divorce me.
Proof?
In front of him, crying and sputter. I rolled up my arms and stood up in him.
I'm the one you cheated on her with. I didn't know I was your cheating path. There's plenty of evidence that you almost got married. Besides, you also had other women be.
How did you know?
It was not I who found out about the affair with the woman he met through a dating site, but the private investigator who conducted a background check on him. The detective was following him to his home. It just so happened that he saw him enter a hotel with another woman, not his wife. So I asked him to investigate the act incidentally.
You're so sloppy. You went on dating apps and talked. You lied about being single again. Now that I think about it, you even have a car, navigation system to take you from the motel to my place. How could you do such a terrible thing and then you tell us you love us? Who would believe that?
Me, smugly with my phone in my hand. I feel like a heroine in a movie. He collapsed and mumbled helplessly.
Cheating is just cheating and not ski serious. My ex-girlfriend said I could do it because I didn't get caught.
That may have been fine with your ex-girlfriend, but it's not the same in Kansas. I'm not like that, and neither is she.
Ella and Kansas, you're two very different types. I love you both. I didn't want to break up with one.
Unfortunately, we both hate you more than anything in the world.
I said it directly and went back to my parents. And once again, I stood in line with parents to apologize to Jarrett, Kansas's parents.
I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused. Was planning to get married to Jan. I was very shocked by what happened, but now that you've invited me here, I could say everything I wanted to say to him. I will ask my lawyer to take care when alimony matters. I don't think I will see you all again, even though I didn't know. I'm so sorry for the damage I've done to our relationship. I am truly sorry.
Because I didn't have to be there, they discussed their divorce without me. When I heard his bombshell at the meeting, I felt so gloomy that I thought it was the end of the world. But at this moment, I was in a sunny mood like a blue sky after a typhoon. I took out my phone and sent a message to the members of the after party.
A lot has happened, but it's all good. The sky is clear. I'm fine. Let's have another drink together.
So what happened to that lousy guy?
He paid me for everything. Maybe his parents took over for him.
My best friend and I are relaxing with a glass of wine in hand at a luxurious hotel. We're going on a little getaway where we can relax and unwind. That is what she promised me during incident. I agreed to the plan.
Hey, Ella, that's not what I meant. I've heard before that you received from that man. That guy. Didn't he suffer some kind of punishment?
I heard he's been hurt enough to know that he's done.
My friend said with a twinkle in her eye, "Tell me more." I told her what I knew. The cost of the wedding, the alimony, and the alimony. To his wife, after the divorce was finalized, and child support. That alone would be quite a lot of... Plus, he had debts. All the groom's relatives and friends came to the ceremony and then paid their respects. Because of the number of people who the bill from the agency was quite... He couldn't pay it with his savings, so he borrowed money from a bank. The address of his parents' house was a rental apartment. Kansas said he must have sold the parents' house to pay off the debt.
Wow, that guy's parents went through a disaster.
True, but they made sure they got their money back that he owed them. And they are not going to have any of relationship with him.
And how is he doing at work?
I heard he's still working at the same workplace. It's hard to hide what has happened. It was such a big incident. People at his work know about every I heard. It's not very comfortable.
My best friend smiled and said she's relieved that he got that punishment. I agreed with her. I laughed. I got mad. I got angry. It's been a really busy few months. I've had a lot of hard times being a jerk. But more than that, I had a lot from my parents. I've had a lot of encouragement from many people. No matter what happened, I realized not alone. I do know if I will ever want to get married again or if any bad things will happen again, but I'm sure I will be fine. I will smile and do well tomorrow.